Take my hand. I only offer it once.
Today I saw a slave become more powerful than the Emperor of Rome.
Why are we here?
Are you not entertained?
Welcome back to Cocktail Cinema, folks, your weekly movie review podcast. As always, I am your first favorite bartender, third favorite author, Josh Price. I'm joined by the Sippable Opinions crew, my co-host, Greg, and our producer, Shasti. How are we doing this week, boys?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Feeling right.
Amped by this one.
Got our new powerhouse
It's hard
song.
not to be. Definitely hard not to be.
So, what are we amped by? This week's movie, of course,
Such as?
2000's Gladiator.
My name is Gladiator.
This movie was directed by Ridley Scott. It had a budget of $103 million, and it had a box office return of $460.5 million.
Whew. All right,
So a
that'll do.
big hit.
That'll do.
This is the definition of a blockbuster. You know, the big, powerful film with a big, powerful budget.
Big,
That a
powerful
big, powerful
swords.
return.
Big powerful lead role.
Like, just
It's a little better return than most of the cult classics that we touched.
True.
But I love it. Yeah.
yeah. So well, yes, it's a larger number return, but proportionately, I mean,
This sounds
is
very
still,
phallac, this whole conversation.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Roman swords.
All
so
right. Put it on,
Rome.
man.
everything's gonna be, you know, a little dickish, just a little bit. But yeah. So I had not seen this movie in a long time. So coming back to it, I was a little bit trepidatious because I think the last time I watched Gladiator, I was in college, and we had to watch it for a world history class. And there were a few movies that actually wound up on our list for next year that we had to review for historical purposes. And
This fell
as
short.
wonderful as this movie is,
Right.
this movie is not realistic in a lot of ways. Like it's not only anachronistic, where they're like some of the equipment and the armor that they had was used either hundreds of years before or hundreds of years later, but the people, the historical characters in this movie are practically
Like,
unrecognizable.
there's probably no Maximus.
No,
Okay,
there's
good.
not. There's not. I mean,
It's like
kind of.
insert Spartacus,
Yes,
but
yeah.
not Maximus.
So Maximus is very loosely based on like 4 or 5 people from Roman history, Spartacus being one of them, and mostly in the way that his troops were loyal to him. And then the other was like Marcus Aurelius, so the Caesar at the very beginning of the movie. Rest in peace, original Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Dumbledore. Richard Harris.
Yeah, good old Richard Harris.
I got this cast.
He did have a very close friend who was a general.
Yeah.
But his name wasn't Marcus, and he didn't murder his son. Although I do find it kind of funny that the real life Commodus was killed by a wrestler, and
In
it
the
wasn't
Col-
Randy
in the
Savage.
Coliseum?
All right, state topic here.
Was that in the Colosseum? though?
No,
Was
no,
that-
it was like in his house.
Oh,
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so that like I said, some of this stuff was kind of true, but mostly not. But still makes for a great movie.
Yeah, I didn't seem to
Absolutely.
mind. I didn't mind at all. I thought this movie was great. I mean, I guess I'll kick it off. But
I mean, you watched it twice.
Yeah, I know. I watched this almost 3-hour movie twice in like 24 hours. But I've seen this movie a gazillion times. But to go back, like we talk about critically, and check it out, there's so much more that I missed. And a lot of it had to do with that weird panning and dream sequence. I mean, it kind of caught your eye and kept you there the whole time. I think that was the intention of it. But the camera work on that stuff was really, really good and exceptional. And also bringing back the choreography of the fighting. The end fight was lackluster because I think it had to be. He was hurt and stuff. But as far as demanding purpose, demanding role, choreography, I mean, Russell Crowe gave a hell of a performance. And holy crap, Joaquin Phoenix, I've never met a. He's like the worst villain ever. Like I literally want to reach through the screen and break his little scrawny boyish neck. And
Yeah.
oh my god,
He definitely killed it.
He
that's
does a
that's
great
my interpretation of this movie. But
like you and I were talking beforehand that Joaquin Phoenix is always a good actor, but when he's in the hands of the right director, he gives phenomenal performances. And I think Ridley Scott just knows how to use Joaquin Phoenix, and he does make for a very despicable character.
like it was bad.
Like this is Joffrey levels. Of
Yeah,
hatred.
seriously.
Yeah,
man. It
that's
was-
what I was thinking the whole time watching it too. It's like, especially when you take a step back and you watch this from a critical standpoint, you know, you take a step away from your favorite actors, and a lot of
Right,
time you just see Dumbledore in that scene. But when you see Joaquin act in this, it's like it's almost bone chilling, just his character in general. But it takes you back to just watching the script, which was
totally.
And his madness kept multiplying. And to start the movie, you know, he's this boyish little. He still is basically. Is based on his.
He's a punk.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
But how he progresses, holy smokes, into like this dark lord.
Diabolical.
Oh man!
And I think his character has a lot to say with the writing from Franzoni,
Yeah.
David, who was the producer of the movie,
Writer and producer.
Nice.
Nice.
Which I think is the best like combo you can have.
Right.
We talk about guys, you know, acting and directing or producing,
Or directing and
yeah,
writing.
But writing, I think writing and producing where you have the whole control of the business side, the cast.
Right. You get to pick and choose your favorite.
You get to pick your favorite director. Yeah, whoever you trust the most in their artistic vision that correlates with. Same thing with picking out the actor. You know what I mean? Joaquin playing this role that Franzoni wrote.
Right.
Is it's a different character than history shows, but it's. I think that just writing the flick and being in control of like. The business aspect and everybody on board with it is
having
like,
no one to answer to.
That's the best
Right,
aspect. Like he's the dude behind. I'll pull him up.
And having like Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix,
Yeah.
you know, and like the old school actors like Oliver Reed and Richard Harris and Jimon Hansu, you know, like great.
Good old Jaimin Hansu, yeah.
He gave a good.
My man
performance,
from
but-
Never Back Down.
And I mean, don't take anything away from Connie Nielsen as the sister,
Commodus's sister.
Commodus's
yeah.
sister, Lucida. But man, overall acting, I thought it was spot on.
Yeah.
Camera shots were awesome. Choreography.
Well, I think it's also notable to point out that so the guy who played Proximus, this was his last role before he passed away. Like he was, you know, some reports say he was actually pretty sick at the time.
Right.
Like he was having heart problems.
In the crowd.
And
in the crowd.
you know, this is his legacy at this point with this generation of film. Like sure he was known for other stuff before, but for people our age, we know him as Proximus. And I think that's an excellent role to stand on.
Proximo?
Proximo.
There you go.
Proximo?
Proximo?
Proximus?
I think it's Proximo.
Proximo. Oh, that's right, because it's there's an S on it in the Latin on his sword, but I think that's a possessive thing.
Okay.
So it's Proximo's blade, the wooden sword that Caesar gives him
For his
to
freedom.
symbolize
The crowd. And you'll win your freedom.
Yeah.
That drink looks real good there, Josh.
Yeah.
That's actually there's a part in these movies where Russell Crowe like grabs a little bit of sand every time he's going into battle,
yeah.
and like it's very noticeable, and there's
Absolutely.
a drawback there, and I think there might be a correlation between this drink.
There very much is.
All
There very
right.
much is. There's a correlation there. There's a correlation with our boy Spartacus. So, as Greg said, there are 3 notable times where Maximus, before he goes into battle, sits down and feels the earth, and he lets it sift through his hand. And Maximus's character, again, somewhat based on Spartacus, the blood and sand guy. So I had my wheels turning, and I wanted to play with a couple of Mediterranean flavors.
Chariot.
So I was thinking red wine and pomegranates. So what we have here is the blood and sangria.
Oh,
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
play on words there.
So we have ourselves in this glass, obviously a little bit of ice, but an ounce of orange juice, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, 1/2 ounce of peach schnapps, 1/2 ounce of our favorite pomegranate liqueur. I was using Parma today. 2 ounces of Sprite, and 2 to 3 ounces of red wine.
Nice.
I like my sangrias to be a little on the whinier side because I'm a whiny little man. But yeah, so you can have this drink stirred as we have it, or you can float the wine, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Check out the Instagram. There's a photo of the floated drink there.
Cheers, boys.
Well, we're
To your
drinking
freedom.
sangria.
Win the crowd.
Win the crowd. And you'll win your freedom.
I am very proud of that sangria.
That's
like
good.
I love a good hearty sangria, but this is on the lighter
It's refreshing
side.
too, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So now that we've wet our whistles, let's go back into the
Grab some more sand.
let's
Start
go back into the
fighting.
sand pits. So The depiction of the Colosseum is absolutely beautiful.
I love it.
Because obviously
I love
this
it.
is a building that is not in usable condition today. It definitely wasn't 20 years ago. So the CGI design to bring it back to its former glory is astounding, because it's, I mean, if you're really looking for it, you can tell it's CGI, but it's so beautifully done.
Well, even they kind of call it out in the movie too. I think maybe it was Juba, as they're walking up. I didn't know men could make such things.
Yeah.
Isn't it glorious? And like that's
Yeah.
they're all basically walking into their death, and they say
that's
it
on the
millions of
walk,
times.
right?
Yeah, you know, it's like get ready to die for those about to rock. We
And
salute
that's-
you.
It's,
You know?
I think that's very symbolic. You know what I mean? Because they would say that all roads lead to Rome.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's on the way there. And then when he's saying, like, look at, you know, how I can't believe something like this was man-made. It's like all roads in Rome led to the Colosseum.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Which was like the epitome of technology and
Yep.
construction. And that's, I think that was an awesome scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Totally. And it's visually stunning, symbolically stunning, and it's kind of at that moment where Jaimon Honsu and our boy Maximus are having that conversation that Maximus decides he is no longer Maximus. I am Gladiator. You know?
My
And
name is Gladiator.
he's
That
not
switches it
going
back.
to take up that Maximus identity again until he can obtain his revenge.
Right. From Proximo, you know, where when the crowd, you know, I mean, that's where it all came from, and just building up. And then it called back again from Juba, saying you have a strong name. They have to kill your name before they can kill you. There's so many, for this being such a historical flop, as far as we're concerned, right? Like there's no meaning basically that goes into
no historical accuracy.
But for
to know.
the tie togethers, I mean, it's very well put together as far as ins and outs of family members, armies. Just, I know it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's a long movie, but you need all that time to get through it. And it, like we were talking earlier, Shasti, you said this movie's not 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a quick mover. And to be honest with you, like I don't know. I've seen this movie dozens of times. For whatever reason, I missed the beginning every time. It's like it's on like
the
TNT
war?
or something. But it stands alone. Like once you get that part, it's like, wow, this thing goes. You know, I mean, they don't give a whole lot into Maximus's past, but you get that big feeling that he is his past and he wants his past. But I don't know. It's one
all
of those
about going
give and
home.
take. Yeah,
You know what I mean? And it's like you say the first, 5 or 10 minutes that you forget watching. They don't cover much of his past, but you forget really quick that there's sure.
Today I saw a slave become
I
more
saw a slave
powerful
become
than the
more
Emperor of
powerful,
Rome.
but that was when he was already. You forget that he was a general before that, and they mentioned in the beginning that he was a farmer.
Right.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
And his soldiers are even blown away.
Yeah,
I couldn't see you.
So he's
farming.
farmer, to a general, to a slave,
Yeah.
like under a farmer.
Not only is he playing multiple roles in this movie, as slave to fighter
He's held every plebeian position
I mean,
in
oh
Rome.
my goodness, look at this guy. He's a slave. You know, I don't know. He does a really good job, man. I mean, just that dude. There's no in that era time frame. Like, think about like some of these movie posters, like esque of like how when the roses are falling or dust is kicked up. Like this movie is posterized. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every scene seems to be another poster, another like draw into your soul. And I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I think that's why I enjoyed it, because it's so punchy. It's so to your core, man. Like Joaquin is nuts. He's the worst. Like we talked about it, but you wouldn't have Russell Crowe without Joaquin in this film, and they complement each other so freaking well, man.
Well, and I mean, it's not just the acting. I mean, this is Ridley Scott. This is the guy who brought us Alien, most notably. But this is possibly the only director at that time, outside of maybe Spielberg, who could have brought back this genre, this sand and chariots, historical epic. Because if you think about, older film, the Charlton Heston era, they had all these biblical or historical epic movies that were in this vein, but it had kind of died off for a couple of decades. The 70s and 80s and most of the 90s, it was kind of fading away. And then out of nowhere, Gladiator punches you in the face at the turn of the millennium.
Right.
And it brought back interest in that time period. And this movie is important for a lot of reasons. That's definitely one of the big ones. Is Ridley Scott brought this back to the forefront.
I think that it's glaring the whole time watching this movie now. Just like we said, that's the epitome of technology and entertainment. This is where all the people go and spend their money. This is when the point in time when politics were at first side by side taking over, outside of like what the gods say. You know what I mean? The first form of civilization where politics are becoming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Emperor
driving war.
versus Democrat.
Yeah,
Democrat,
driving
democracy,
war or not going to war. And it's distraction from everything that
They used to call it the Roman circus.
Yeah.
You know, and you know the Colosseum and everything that happened there was often used as a distraction. You know, to get people less involved.
Right.
You know, it was to placate, you know, unrest.
It's just very no matter how historically it flopped, like that holds true to
totally.
today.
Right. Totally.
You know what I mean?
The biggest distraction of this whole movie is the MF Doom.
He didn't rap once in this whole movie.
Come on, man. Sorry, you guys.
No, yeah, R.I.P. was one of the big ones. R.I.P. to one of the big ones.
All caps.
No cap.
No cap. No, I think there's so much to be said about, you know, the visual style for Gladiator, where like we wouldn't have gotten a 300 without this movie. And 300 was what, 6-7 years later?
I'm not sure,
give or take, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the fantasy genre
Russell Crowe
would have suffered without this movie. I think the Lord of the Rings would have been different, especially, you know, the Return of the King, because so much of it took place in, you know, on a battlefield. And granted, this movie doesn't have a whole lot that takes place on a battlefield, but a lot of it is in battle. So figuring out how modern film was going to depict combat was really important.
Yeah.
Because we're entering the era where things need to be both fun and believable. You can't have this big badass who come like the 80s, you know, protagonist. He's no longer popular. This has to be Maximus, the fallen hero. And this is a huge pivotal point for film just in general.
The savior of Rome.
Yeah.
You know?
And
you're right.
I don't know,
Absolutely. 100%.
I
agree
have
with
nothing
you
but praise for this
tenfold,
movie.
for sure. And it kind of starts, like you said, that whole. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to take the words out of your mouth and make them better, but you're good.
Someone needs to
spot on. No, I'm piggybacking you, buddy. Jeez, yeah, no, I don't know. I really enjoy this movie. It's a clean watch all the way through. You know what I mean? There's really no shaky parts. You know, everything's thought through and done well from camera work to characters to you know, the production. Like you said, the writing and production. I think it held a huge part from what Chassi was saying, like being able to control the writing and how it is displayed to the viewer.
Yeah,
I think there's that constant dichotomy throughout the whole process of it. From that to, like you said, with the historical flaws to how they had to write to like rewrite the death at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a give and take where I don't feel like any of the gives made it worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like if anything, it made them better. There's that much. Same thing with like the cinematography you're saying. Like, sure, all the pan shots of the Colosseum were CGI,
The sunsets
but when they're on chariots and bodies are getting severed in half in the Colosseum, they built like a small corner of it.
Right.
And same thing like we saw with the elevator in Die Hard.
Yeah.
How they made it look much smaller. You know, over a shorter period of time. Like they like.
These perspective builds.
Yeah, they built a perspective
and at
build
the
like
same
that.
time too, when you're talking about that fight scene, that's where everybody knows he's the general now.
But I'm just saying they had like a
he's Maximus.
corner of the Coliseum like built out, and they have to like, we have to film it chariot coming from this way at this angle. There was still that much with all the CGI that was there. There was still that much practical
Are you
stuff.
saying there
that
wasn't
they had
3 tigers? There was only 1.
Yeah, sure.
I'm saying there were more tigers.
Those
that
are
they had to
mirrors.
crop out.
Those are just mirrors. All this trick in the book.
Like all the way. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark has a mirror trick like that with the snake. Is it? Or is it? It's one of the Indiana Joneses. But yeah, so there is one thing that could potentially tarnish the reputation of this movie.
Oh, shit.
And that is the fact that it has been greenlit for a sequel.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Really? When? Like recently?
Very
It
recently.
says TVA for
recently.
the. I was looking at all this stuff for. Yeah.
And Russell Crowe is signed on. So
The Resurrection.
yeah. So there have been
Or the
talks
prequel, or
for
what?
20 years about how the sequel, according to Ridley Scott, was going to be about Lucian. And Lucian as a man finding out his true heritage. Well, I mean, just that phrase leads you to believe it's Maximus is his real dad. But oh no, it gets crazier than that. Maximus doesn't show up in flashbacks or in memories or anything. He planned to either utilize time travel or resurrect him.
So you said this is kind of a thing that goes back into Mr. Ridley Scott's kind of repertoire, huh?
It takes like everything, and I really hope he's just.
So when we said some
really
things aren't
gaming
historically accurate, is this one of them?
No, the time travel
So it's like
part's real.
so like we're stargating this thing.
Yes,
It's Stargate equals.
There is a leaked version of the sequel script where Maximus is brought back to life, time travels, and fights Jesus.
Well,
Oh, that's great. That's
everybody wants to go back and fight Jesus.
That's actually. I mean,
It's very
can we review
Hamlet
that
too.
next?
Jeez. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that. Let's
So,
move
yeah.
on.
So, yeah.
That's terrible. I don't want to think about
We're
it.
probably not going to watch the sequel.
Absolutely not.
But what we are going to do is we're going to rate this movie
I love it.
as a single project. So here on Cocktail Cinema, we like to rate our movies out of 100 tacos. 0 being the worst, 100 being the best. Grego, how many tacos do you give Gladiator?
I really like it. All aspects. Good watch. 80.
80?
Boom.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it should be a little high. Can I read? Can I?
No, you can't. You're stuck.
82.
You already made your order.
Plus 2.
You already made your
82.
order.
82.
Tacking on 2 tacos.
2 tacos. The spiciness of Joaquin.
Shasti?
I give Gladiator an 80.
That's great.
I give it an 80. I'm harsh on even some of my favorites, and maybe I'm too lenient on my guilty pleasures. But Gladiator is right there. Solid B.
You just turned your back on the Emperor on my 80. Like, all right.
Because you stole it. And I normally, it's funny because I normally 82 is like my normal.
It's your resting place. I give Gladiator an 85.
Okay.
It would have been an 84, but like you said, I think Joaquin Phoenix, going back and watching his performance again, elevates it that extra order.
That's where I was at too. Yeah.
So,
100.
let's see what that despicable site Rotten Tomatoes has to say.
Oh, we're right there.
Oh, we got a 77 from critics and
We're right there.
87 from audiences. So yeah, splitting a difference there.
You understand?
I do.
Boom.
I do. Watchers and listeners.
Are you
Audience of the Colosseum.
not
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
not? Sorry, I didn't mean to steer
Are
thunder
you
there.
not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
That was beautiful, Mikey. That was beautiful. Drop down in the comments below and let us know what your taco rating is for 2000's Gladiator. We'd love to know why you rated it that way. Do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? Are we right? Of course we are. Let us know. Again, this is YouTube and this is podcast listening, so you guys know the drill. This has been a really good time. Greg, any last words?
No. Nice show, guys. I really like this one. It's fun.
Mikey, what do you want on your tombstone?
It's always a pleasure. Thanks for being here. Oh, on the tombstone?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Pepperonis.
Go ahead.
On my tombstone, I think I'm going to do pepperoni. And because I'm kind of hungry, I got to say goodbye.
You understand? Are you not entertained?